Today's reading is from Psalm 123, a song of ascents. To you I lift up my eyes, O you who are enthroned in the heavens. Behold, as the eyes of servants look to the hand of their master, as the eyes of a maidservant to the hand of her mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God, till he has mercy upon us. Have mercy upon us, O Lord, have mercy upon us, for we have had more than enough of contempt. Our soul has had more than enough of the scorn of those who are at ease, of the contempt of the proud.
Thanks, Jeremy. One of the common challenges of lockdown is trying to stay focused on the task. I wonder if it's been an issue for you. And it's a bit of a funny one, really, isn't it? Because you might think that being hidden away from your work mates and your colleagues on your course would instantly make you more able to concentrate and be productive. That just hasn't been the experience for many of us during this time. Help is available though. Focus Mate watches you while you work from home. Flipped is an app that hides your other distracting apps. Or why not join a silent Zoom party that recreates the atmosphere of a library? And this is not lockdown specific. Even during normal times, it's been said that we live in an attention deficit disorder society. And one thing after another comes into my gaze. Updates, messages, tweets. Researchers tracking the brain activity of 112 participants in Canada found that over the course of 5 years, their average attention span had shrunk to a mere 8 seconds. That's even shorter than the goldfish's 9 seconds. Sorry, Canadians of Euston Church, don't take that one too personally. Anyway, in under 8 seconds, your brain will have moved on to think about something else, so you'll have forgotten I even said it. Focus is the key to godliness in Psalm 123. The key part of your body to control your eyes. Keep your eyes on the prize, they say. Eye of the tiger, if you remember the Rocky movies. In Psalm 121, we lifted our eyes to the hills. Psalm 123, verse 1. To you I lift up my eyes. As the eyes of servants, it says, as the eyes of a maidservant, our eyes look to the Lord. How's your spiritual eyesight then? Do you manage to keep these looking to him? That's never easy to do, actually, on the journey, which, remember, is what these songs of ascent are. Songs for pilgrims on the road up to Jerusalem. Songs for us on our journey to the great city of God. Hey, thanks for your honesty. Just chatting to a few of you on the Zoom room afterwards and some of your messages, it's obvious that some of us really feeling the need for our walk with the Lord to be revitalized. And as I said before, that's been a regular experience for me. I wanted to do this series for myself as much as for anyone. Well, the Psalms are such a gift in modeling the journey not only to the Lord, but walking with the Lord every step of the way. I was reading a helpful book this week by the Old Testament scholar Gordon Wenham. He says this: singing or praying the Psalms is a performative act. Saying these solemn words to God alters one's relationship in a way that mere listening does not. Now, in that quote, you see there, he's not being negative about listening to God speak in the Bible. We need the listening. That's what we do as we open up Scripture on our own and with others, listening to a talk download or here on a Sunday. But what makes it a relationship is how we respond. Now, he's also not saying in the quote that just saying the words is a magic formula, or that praying a psalm is a performance in a pretended way. The point is that we actually have to get involved. Do it physically if it helps you focus in Psalm 123. Lift your eyes to the Lord. The Psalms lead us into postures and prayers and attitudes that we should be making our own as people walking through the journey actually with him. So can I ask, is your devotional time just another exercise in Bible study and learning? Great to do that. But where is that space for a personal response? And if you don't know how to respond, if you don't have a clue what I'm on about, well, let these Psalms help you as you enter into them as your prayers. Don't mishear this. The first thing to do with a psalm isn't always to assume that you're the person speaking. Some of the psalms are the Christ King talking to God. You've probably noticed you're not the Christ. But in the songs of ascents, songs for pilgrim travelers like us, we are basically good to go in making these prayers ours. Two things here, a posture and a prayer. First, a posture to adopt. Eyes focused up. This is quite similar to Psalm 120. Woe to me, the distress of the uncongenial world around. We'll get to that in the second point. Even though we said our first three songs of ascent were a microcosm of the whole journey, there must be a reason why there are 15 of them. So what's this one adding? Well, the first two verses are, I think, the most detail we've had so far on how it would look from our end to relate to the Lord on the journey. It was actually very tempting for me to teach this the other way round from how it's laid out. So to start with the problem, verses 3 to 4, then the solution, verse 1 to 2. When you've had enough of a hostile world, point 1, fix your eyes on the Lord, point 2. But no, look to the Lord, full stop, is the starting point. Focused gazing on him is the appropriate posture, whatever is going on around. And I guess we won't love the illustration given to help us make sense of this. It's the illustration in verse 2. Behold, as the eyes of servants look to the hand of their master, as the eyes of a maid servant to the hand of her mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord. It's a humbling comparison, that one, but in an entirely appropriate way. He is the master. We are the servants, totally dependent. Verse 2 reminds me, and actually this is an even more humbling illustration, of my in-law's dog, Freddie. Eyes fixed on the master, waiting for the bowl to be thrown or the treat to be handed down, waiting, anticipating. The waitress looking for the tip. The butler watching for the nod that he can retire for the evening. It should be humbling because the rest of 1 to 2 remind us who it is we're gazing on. He's in the heavens, and more than above all, he is in charge of all, enthroned, it says, verse 1. I've been using the Psalms a bit with our kids, and we did Psalm 123 a few times this week. Lift up your eyes. We had some fun with some cartoon popping eyes that we found on the internet. I was recapping the next day and said, remember, we're looking to the Lord in heaven, to which 3-year-old Jessie burst in with, on the throne. Amen. That's right, Jesse. He's not just on heaven. He's on the throne. Not just enthroned in the future city, on the throne now. Can you see why you would fix your gaze on him as your provider? And this is not like when you phone your bank and they say, you're caller number 326 in the queue, your call is important to us. No, the Lord our God, end of verse 2. That's where we finished in last week's psalm, our God. It's personal. More than the master, he's ours. And remember, the word Lord in capitals means Yahweh, the promise-making, promise-keeping God. We know him, and we know he's good. And that's why we look to him for mercy. By the way, end of verse 2 and following, it's a general word here for mercy, not so much asking for forgiveness particularly, but undeserved kindness generally. Help. Which is why this is walking us into a posture for every single day of the Christian life. It begins with a long, hard stare, not at the problems, which may be many, but at the Master. I look to you. I need you. I know you, Yahweh. You're mine, ours. Thank you that the story of my life is that you have shown me mercy. And out of that place comes the specific prayer for help. Verse 3. Have mercy upon us, O Lord. Have mercy upon us, for we have had more than enough of contempt. Our soul has had more than enough of the scorn of those who are at ease, of the contempt of the proud. This repeated language of more than enough is what you say when you've eaten too much. Had my fill, fed up. I've had it up to here, basically. And it's so real, again, divine permission to talk to the Lord in this very down-to-earth way that expresses how it feels to be you right now. That's actually what most of verses 3 to 4 do. And as we said, same territory as Psalm 120. There it was the lies of the world wearying us on Pilgrim Road. Here it's their contempt and personal mockery. Look for the hostility hotting up as the Psalms of Ascent proceed. We were praying last week for Jerusalem to be a city at ease with itself in the future, but some people are at ease now. Proud at the end there means lofty. They don't need to lift their eyes for help because they're so up themselves. Maybe materially, intellectually. And they mockingly show contempt for the Lord's servants, which can eat away at our soul. Scorn is personal. They may mock you quietly or loudly. It may be in their actions or words or the raised eyebrow. You believe that in the 21st century? How could a thinking person, an ethical person, you sing and pray to him? It's pathetic. I've been involved with Christians in the workplace around this area for a few years now. One was shamed, shouted at across the whole length of the office, called a fundamentalist by the boss. Another cut out of the social group for bringing her friend Jesus into the conversation. Not all the time, and of course we're praying that this will be a season of pride being humbled in a really good way, but treated with contempt and scorn. Who does that remind you of? You know, when Jesus tells us to take up our cross and follow him, one of the first examples he gives of what that might mean is not actually about death and torture. It's about shame. The shame of being associated with him and his words in your generation. That's very common. In our world of online shaming and defriending, the fact that it doesn't even have to happen face to face can make the scorn all the more vicious. I wonder, have you had it up to here, being the different one? Family hating your priorities, your Jesus connection being the blight on an otherwise very impressive CV. Maybe had it up to here with lockdowns and injustice and everything broken that the enemy uses to mock the idea of a city of God. Had it up to here with the stress that makes it so difficult to focus on anything. Remember Jesus on the brink of his darkest hour? John 17, lift up his eyes to heaven, it says, and prays. Will we make that the habit of a lifetime? End of verse 2 again. Our eyes look to the Lord our God till he has mercy upon us. Have mercy upon us, O Lord. Have mercy. Which, of course, he does every day, far from home, but never far from him, never far from the kindness of the Master's hand. Sometimes he eases the contempt. Often the provision is strength to endure yet more. Ultimately, this is a prayer to bring in the Psalm 122 city, where we will be at ease, not because of confidence in ourselves, but because of him who's on the throne of peace and justice. I was thinking about why we find it hard to adopt this servant posture, always looking towards him. Of course, our pride and our default of being our own masters is a big issue. But specifically, do we find ways of helping ourselves out of the contempt problem? Censoring ourselves and our words to ease the mockery? Maybe you're avoiding becoming a Christian because of the fear of it, rather than doing the brave thing and trusting the Master to help get us through. I wonder too, have we forgotten what the Master's promised to do? Freddie, the dog, fixates on his Master because he really believes the good thing is coming. Does the fact that God's city seems a long time coming mean we lose that urgency in expectantly praying for God to do what he's promised his hand will do? Have mercy, bring the relief. Come, Lord. Here is a lesson in patient, prayerful, looking at the Master. Eyes on the prize. Mindfulness, whatever you want to call it in our attention deficit lives. Will you enter this psalm and make it your own? Look up, literally, if it helps. Or close your eyes and think about where he is, the one you're speaking to. Think about that throne he sits on. How much you depend on him for everything. How much he's promised to do, Yahweh, your God. And then talk to him. Keep it real. Tell him what you've had enough of in this broken and often sneering world. Ask him for mercy. And keep on looking and keep on asking until the day when you find yourself in the city where you don't need to ask for mercy anymore.